What up, Bopper Gang? We've got yeoscore with us today. What's up?
Hi, how are we
Hi.
doing?
All the way from DC.
Kinda DC-ish. I claim it. It's kind of a lie.
I mean, we wouldn't know.
Yeah. I'm actually like 45, maybe nowadays an hour south of DC.
Nice. All
A
right,
short
cool.
train ride, but I am away from the city itself, so I'm kind of a poser, but it is what it is.
I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, so can you tell us a little bit about your name?
Yeah, so it actually comes from my actual name. Um, My name is Joffrey, or Joff, I go by for short. So it's Geoff. I think stateside that tends to still be Jeffrey. So there's an old joke that a comedian made on Twitter that was Jeff, yes, and then Joff, and then Yos. And I made Jaffios my like handle on everything for years since like eighth grade, and then eventually I think during the pandemic I messaged the comedian. I was like, your little joke on Twitter a few years ago has like completely formed my entire online identity, and they're like, I'm so sorry, but but yeah, no, and so over time, as I started moving away from, I was making like electronic music, like hard style stuff like that, when I was a teen. And as I started moving away from that, I started getting into more avant-garde spaces, like hyper poppy type of stuff. And just in my group of friends in the group chat, we would call it yeoscore. And so I was like, I kind of like that. It stuck. I really milled on it for really, I think, 2 years. I was scared to change my name, and then I finally did it, and it's sticking. I'm a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been watching your videos on YouTube because you also are like a content creator in general, which represent. But I was watching a video you made like 6 months ago, and you said that that was around the time that you kind of changed your name and like changed your sound. So, what was the decision behind that change?
Um, my guitars are back there. I started using like my guitars more, and my first couple releases as Yogscore were actually just like straight up, almost ambient guitar music with me kind of singing lightly. Um, I don't think I could have done that under my previous. I was going by my given name, my first and last name, which I still do have those accounts, and I still want to reserve that for like doing like scores. A big dream of mine is to do scoring video games and movies. So I do kind of do a little bit of orchestral stuff on the side that I will reserve my given name for. But EOS Core, I was moving like I was going like head first into this kind of digicore kind of, I guess now it's called plug and B space. Um, and I didn't think I could do that while having this kind of listener base that was so used to like video game music pretty much. Um, and I think it worked. It's starting to work out. But at first it was really rough.
Yeah. Well, I love the commitment to it. And I mean, I love your whole like aesthetic and identity. Like, how long have you been making music and like producing in general?
Oh goodness. Gosh, I would. I'm gonna claim it as far back as like third grade, and only because I was just messing around. On My sister got a piano, like a keyboard, a Casio keyboard, when I was in like second or third grade. I was playing it more than she was, and eventually it ended up being like everything that I've made until maybe like 2020 was made on that keyboard.
Oh wow.
Uh, I'm 23 now, for reference. Um, so yeah, I was using that thing for a while. I got drums, a drum set when I was a kid, and I was again just kind of going crazy on those. My dad, um, when he came to the States and after college and all that, he was DJing a lot. So it kind of runs in the family. I'd like to say. My mom is from Trinidad and Tobago. My dad is from Dominica. These are both extremely music heavy cultures. I mean, Carnival. That's in Trinidad. And Dominica brought soca music to the world. Um, and yeah, all these kind of influences. It's hard to not be a creative person when you have so much influence around you all the time. It's just, do you decide to share it with the world or not? And I decided to do that.
Yeah. I feel like it's either that or you like play sports or like become a doctor. You like go the opposite route.
Unfortunately, I did play sports. I have a lot of scars. I still do play soccer. I fear.
Oh wow. Who's your team?
All right, I am a here. Just for a little bit of context. Oh wait, DC United. I will always rep DC United.
No.
It's not the
You heard it here first.
I am a fourth generation fan of Arsenal. Um, my father, my grandfather, and presumably my great grandfather, um, all Arsenal fans.
Wow. Nice.
Um, I have a lot of family in London on my dad's side. So,
That's so cool.
am I
No,
am I
it
like?
honestly makes sense that you're a drummer because I was gonna bring up I love like your drum and bass on your production because
Not a very
I
good drummer.
personally like
I will say.
do what?
I am not a very good drummer. I am just good at hitting buttons.
No, but I mean I can really tell that you like have an ear for that because like I'm impressed with like there was one song I can't remember what it was, but like you bring in drum and bass at like the very end and I was like, oh wow, that was really, really good.
I love an amen break. I think the amen break is one of like the greatest gifts to music that we've had ever. And there's so many variations of it now. I like to mix in a little. I mean, everyone loves when something goes double time. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
It gets you moving. And I think even when you have like a very trappy, you know, type of beat, you just give it that little bit more right at the end that gets people to perk up a little bit, gets
Yeah.
people out of seats. And that's kind of my goal, is to get people out of seats. I'm sorry if you hear my cats; they're going crazy.
Cats are encouraged always.
um, so yeah, that's actually a really good point. In Dominica, we have music, soca music, which is very percussion heavy, but a lot of traditional Dominican music is super percussion heavy. And then we've got like Juve and all these other genres and subgenres that are super production heavy, or sorry, percussion heavy. So that's kind of always been something I look for first. I make my percussion first. I've always thought about making some sort of content around my percussion because I think it goes a lot deeper than what a lot of people realize. I just use sounds, man. I will sit here and just like bang on things around in my immediate vicinity and use them. I think it's kind of cool to use your environment. Um, yeah, percussion is huge for me. I can make or break something. I'm not the world's greatest pianist, so I'll never be the guy with super complex chord progressions. But I try to be the guy who's going to be able to make people move.
Yeah. Well, I also love like you have a couple videos on your page where you're like breaking down how you made the beat. And for me, I love hearing like just a relatable way because a lot of the time you're like, it just makes it sound like this or it makes it feel like this. And sometimes it's like, I mean, I'm trying to learn, but it's like you can hear, someone explain something technically, but hearing like your perspective on how it makes you feel or how you can like, I don't know, I can learn more from that. I feel like.
I appreciate that take a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing there. Yeah, I studied music theory on my own briefly. I didn't go too far, and I did that on purpose. I didn't want to go too far because I think some people can take all that information and use it for good. I think for me, knowing mathematically what will sound good, I start putting things into boxes. I start trying to make music logically instead of using it as this emotional medium that I think it should be. I think it should all come from a place that's within. And sometimes that's not exactly what would be correct on paper. Um, and kind of bleeding into that, I think we should make an effort to just be understood. I'd much rather use a million small words to describe something than two or three big ones because I don't think I get my point across very well if it's, I mean, I could sound really cool and that's sick, I guess, but I much greater prefer to just be understood at the end of the day because I honestly I ain't reading all that, bro. Just tell me, just just tell me what you.
Congrats, you're sorry that happened to you.
Exactly.
No, but that I'm glad that you brought that up of like feeling understood because that is something that I wanted to touch on with your work, but also like the way that you listen to music because I feel like you have a very like diverse taste in music, but also like the reasoning behind why you are appreciating it is just like I really resonate with it a lot because I think you take the time to understand like the perspective of the artist and like where they're coming from and like why they use this sonically to like get these certain lyrics across. Like specifically, I love 100 gex, but I also love Igloo Ghost. You are the first person that I know that has used an Igloo Ghost sample, but I love like forget the album name, but he like came up with the language for like those little sprites and all of those little songs that you hear, all of those little like intricate details in the back is like a language that he made up,
It's
And that's just
incredible.
wild to me to be able to take the time to like invest that much into your work like that.
Yeah, it's very cool. I make a lot of jokes. I make a lot of jokey jokes, and I hope that they come across as jokes because I'm never being nearly as critical as I seem like I am when it comes to music. Because I think at the end of the day, we're all just speaking our truths, and it is what it is. So yeah, I love hardcore music. I'd say that's probably my favorite genre, which is kind of surprising to a lot of people when they hear what I make. Yeah, I love to listen to bands like Scowl and Jive Bomb representing the DMV. Um, but at the same time, I kind of just I listen to anything. Like I love Pierce. I'm gonna go see Pierce the Veil in May. Like 100 Gex, 84, 85. Um, there's just so much to learn from the way that all these people go about navigating creation, and I think it's so important and so special in each individual way. Um, and at the same time, I gain a lot of like tangible, like physical, moldable inspiration from everything that these guys do. I will hear Knocked Loose did a song with Poppy, and I've been listening to Poppy since she was that Poppy way back.
Yes.
Um, Knocked Loose did a song with Poppy. They did a breakdown with reggaeton drums, and that was sick. And I was like, shoot, how could I, she's in a different room right now, but my girlfriend's from Puerto Rico. And it's like, yeah, how could I incorporate, this Caribeño culture into my music? Like, how could I introduce like reggaeton drums into my music? Because that sounds pretty sick. I've yet to figure that one out, but but it's one of those things where like, yeah, that would be really cool. And punk music in general, you get a lot of double time, and that's my favorite thing in the world. So yeah, there's all these things. I love drum and bass. I love Pink Panthers. I love garage music. I have a song coming out in a week that's pretty much just UK garage, but we don't have English accents. So so
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of I like to listen with the intent of learning. I was never a big Drake fan, but there's things that I've learned from him. Like whatever it was, Family Matters. That second beat is incredible.
Mm,
Incredible.
yeah.
Maybe I'm a bad guy for saying that, but I thought
I
that beat
mean,
was
I'm
good.
a Drake fan, so I'm gonna let you have that. But I'm from Memphis. Like, it's not my fault.
There you go.
um, yeah, no, but that's really like a goal that we have too when it comes to listening to music and just like getting people to connect to different genres, because I feel like there's so much crossover, and especially now, like, I don't know, I see less and less of genres being a thing because I see so much blending and like using this here or using this sound here and like creating something new. And like FKA Twigs just released an album, and she did an interview with Imogen Heap, and she was talking about she like was not in a studio like when she made this because she was just like traveling, and I forget where she was, but she was like in some like Eastern European like nightclub, and like nobody was speaking the same language, and like everyone was just like doing all of these like dance moves, and she was like that was the first time that I could like be myself and no one knew my identity and all of this stuff. And you can just really hear like the influence that she has had by other people and like the collaborative like elements in that, and I feel like you do that a lot in your work.
I hope I do. I'm not so sure how well I'm doing it, but I'm trying. Yeah, I think that's really really cool. I love to see, and there's this screenshot that I occasionally post. You might have seen me post it at least like twice by now. It's the white box with the red text, and it says, "Everyone get more androgynous now." And
Yeah.
I resonate with that so heavily, not just on a personal level, but just like in everything. Like, who cares what the genre is? I set all of my genres to pop because I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
It's all cool.
And I love that I mean, you use like your electric guitars in your like beats and stuff like that too.
I do. Uh, that black one, the black Stratocaster there. I was just talking to a friend about it. I was thinking about uh, upgrading like pickups, whatever, because it's very noisy, and I think you can hear that. It was my only electric guitar until I just got the Telecaster. I was thinking about upgrading it because it's very noisy. I didn't like that; it didn't make a clean sound. And all the songs I've made, I've done a lot of post processing to get that noise out. And then he was like, "Hey, you know, that's kind of I've had that guitar since that's the guitar's been in my household at least since I was 4. My parents traded my mom's car for that guitar to my brother so I could have it once he moved out.
Oh.
Um, so I took it with me when we moved, and he's like, "Hey, don't butcher your childhood guitar. Use it as a tool because you're not gonna have one that sounds like that again because this one is fucked up."
That's so true.
And it's things like that. It's like be a little bit different. You use your guitar on your trap beat. You know, if I could play a horn, oh my goodness, I'd be unstoppable. I can't
Yet.
yet. I like
Um,
that.
yeah, there's this guy, Jules the Wolf, but I think he goes by his real name, Julian Michael now. But I have to send you this album. It's called Wish You Were Here. But he uses his electric guitar and makes these like incredible, like distorted, like trap beats with it. But then he also sings. Like, I think he's like orchestrally trained or whatever, like classically
Very cool.
trained. And yeah, it's just really cool seeing like all of those elements combined. Cause I mean, that's who you are, you know, it's silly to like only use one or only show another one. I think that's another reason why I like Anali Chapa so much. He's from Memphis, but I just love the fact that he's like, yeah, I'll do a country song, like I'll do an EDM, like I have so much to offer. And it's just
Love
cool
it.
seeing that representation, especially in men, because a lot of the time it's risky to like be
Yeah.
authentic, and especially representing like masculinity. And as a rapper, like, you know, I feel like there's a certain image that you're expected to or have been expected to like maintain or uphold. And so it's nice to see that like changing.
Yeah, very much so, 100%. And that's a very interesting thing to touch on. When I was in high school, you know, I was making music, and the only people who were I played football for 1 year. I played football my freshman year, and I made a friend on the freshman football team who raps right now. He goes by John the Don. He's very cool. Love him to death. Um, and he was one of the only like male figures in high school. There's a few out there. Of course, Hayden, my best friend, classically trained pianist, very, that's he's pretty much family. But John, as far as like the hip hop side goes, like people who look like me, um, it was very hard to get kind of a little bit of respect for the kind of stuff I was making at the time. I was making hard style. I was making house music. Um, that's not so normal in Nova, um, and even in DC at the time. You think DC, you think go go, but a lot of that has kind of been forgotten over time. So it's kind of hard um, to be seen as a masculine figure making the kind of music I'm making. That being said, I don't really have a lot of interest in being seen as a masculine figure. Um, but when you're in high school and you're trying to fit in, that does you do feel that. Um, you kind of take it with a grain of salt as you start growing up, but in the moment it does feel a little hard and like what the hell. And so you kind of start to understand things like the punk movement and all these other things that are like, yeah, why is society the way it is? And that bleeds into the music. I've been a long believer that trans women make the best music, period, full stop. I don't care what anyone has to say about that. And it's for those reasons. There is so much generational anguish and suffering that goes into making art that is so sonically moving, and I fully believe that is due to the trans experience. And you see this throughout all different kinds of demographics, where you have you know women in general. There's so much generational pain and suffering, and so you would notice that a lot of my favorites belong to these kinds of disenfranchised groups because I feel that they move me the most, and yeah, that's very very cool that you notice that because many people don't.
Yeah. Sorry, that made me emotional a little bit. I'm a Cancer, so I'm like, no, I love that. Um, who do you think is your like, or who inspires you the most musically?
Um, Goodness gracious. Uh, yeah, that's a tough one. All right. Australia has always, I shouldn't say has always, but since meeting a couple Australians online, Australia has given me a good amount of love. And the music that has come out of Australia um, does inspire me. And that includes like people who I now consider friends, like Sor, Melita. Those two, I consider them friends. They inspire me greatly, and every time they post a snippet, every time they drop, it does inspire me to try out what they're trying out. Excuse me. But then artists like Nina Hirachi, you know, it the level of experimentation is very inspiring. But as to go for who's the most inspiring to me right now, 84, 85, I think. I think she has been for a little while. All roads point back to her, I think, when you look at the kind of production I've been doing.
Yeah. Let's talk about visibility as an artist, especially in the hyperpop scene and just being an online person, because there are so many pros, right? Because it's accessible, I mean, free, all of these things. But then it's like, me personally, and I'm sure you experience this too, it's like I know so many people that I'm like, they are so incredibly talented and they have like 60 views on SoundCloud. And I think that their work is equivalent to, a top 100 hit, So what do you feel like is the biggest obstacle right now as an independent artist?
Hmm, it's a good question. Um, I'm lucky enough to have felt the high and low of virality and then no one caring after from a very young age. I have been uploading to YouTube since I was 11 years old. During the MLG, like, what did they call them? The MLG like meme compilation phase. I was an early adopter there, and maybe I'll share a private video with you so you have some context. But those videos still exist. They're just privated. Um, and I had one that went kind of mini viral. It's kind of you see it. Um, I wasn't making music publicly at the time, but I was making music. I didn't use that as like a stepping stone at all. I was just making stuff. Um, and you kind of sit and you see like hour by hour this number's going up and up and up and up, and hour by hour it doesn't turn into day by day. Hour by hour becomes minute by minute, and then second by second, and like, oh my god, mom, dad, look what I just did. And then, a few days later you upload again, radio silence. You're like, well, what did I do wrong this time? And so I that was a super early lesson, and kind of sometimes it follows your way, sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, I play footy, I play soccer, um, and one of my favorite lessons that footballing has taught me is a 50-50 ball. is 50-50 for a reason. Like, we're both going for the same ball. One of us is going to end up with it, and one of us won't. Um, if it's not me, I'll do my damnedest to get it back. But at the end of the day, if I know I tried my best, I can now rest happily knowing that I tried my best. That was not always the case. Um, do I believe that artists should have more resources? 150%. I believe that people who want to support small artists could also do a better job. Um, I think all around, there's no one place to point the finger because everyone in general could all be doing better. I could be doing a better job at marketing myself. I don't like to market myself. I don't like to show up on like my friends and family's feeds as like an advertisement. Like, yeah, they didn't sign up for that. Um, I shouldn't care, but it does matter to me. Um, yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things to do recently is just pop on Bandcamp and just go to the Hyperpop tab and scroll really far and then buy the first album I see and then listen to it after I already bought it. Um, it's free $5-10 in someone's pocket. And if I liked it, then they'll get more out of me someday. Um, yeah, I think overall we could all be doing a better job to increase exposure. But that being said, I don't think the goal should always be exposure. I think at the end of the day, we should just be trying to tell our stories. Eventually, you'll find someone. It sounds so corny, but eventually you will find someone who cares, who resonates with it. I mean, it takes one thing. I had never used Groover before when I launched the campaign that you found me on.
Yeah.
And it was my first group account. I accidentally clicked on a link. I distribute with Amuse. I accidentally clicked on the link to their I forget what they call it, antisocial social camp or whatever. They do a collaborative album every year. I accidentally clicked on the link to send music for that. And I just happened to be on Groover. I was like, oh well, I'm here. I'll spend however like $5 I spent to put together a campaign. Sometimes things just fall in your lap. I think 9 times out of 10, it's luck getting found. You just need to do the right thing at the right time, and no one knows what the right thing is, and no one knows when the right time is. So for
Yeah.
that, I do chalk it down to luck. There is some skill involved, but and some finesse involved, I guess you could say. But yeah, I try not to worry myself too much about it. I'll post a reel, I'll post a story post, and if someone wants to click on a link, by all means.
Yeah.
If not, it's not the end of the day or end of the world. Sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for me, like, well, what's great that you experienced something so young is that you could like knock that out or like not have to worry about, like my ego or sense of identity as much, like as you're also navigating your 20s and things like that. But I think for me, like what I have experienced like doing BitchBopz or like trying to connect because like some posts will hit, some won't. Like what do I it's my fault, right? I'm taking it personally. And I think something that I've really like focused in on is that the specific connections that I have made like mean more than any sort of like viral number or anything like that. Especially as a like creative or as somebody that just wants to connect with the right people, and like this like being able to talk to you, like I when I started Groover, I was like, I don't know where this is going to go or like who am I to be like reviewing any type of music, but it's also just being ready to receive the opportunity, and like that is something that I do want to commend you on is that you are always showing up like not only for yourself but you are like actively engaged with your community and with the people that you also want to like support you. So I think that can go a long way too.
Yeah, I'm a lot more interested in building friendships and partnerships. Um, I mean, my first collab, not counting John, who was my first collab, um, was a guy by the name of Hey Mr. Noodles, and I still keep in contact. I found him on Fiverr. He was on Fiverr, and I was not confident in using my voice yet in music, so I hired him on Fiverr to drop a verse and a chorus, and then I followed him on Instagram after, and he followed me back, and we still occasionally will reach out, and I've never been one to, you know, kind of set a purpose for someone and say, okay, you've served your purpose, and that's kind of it for me. Are there situations where maybe I should have let go sooner? Yeah, absolutely. But that's never really been my MO. I'd much rather make a friend out of you. I'd much rather make a friend out of BitchBopz. I'd much rather make a friend out of, my and all these other people that I'm working with, because it's a lot more fun that way. You know, if I can hop on here and speak to both of our communities, and both of our communities are really starting to blend together because we've cultivated a friendship rather than a business partnership. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
It's seamless. Um, so yeah, I'm a lot more interested in being friends with the people around here, and that's bitten me on the ass more times than I'd care to count. But
Yeah,
I'm also
I was going to ask you about that because I do a little deep dive, right? And so I wanted to talk to you about your current collaborator because you worked with her previously, but I also know that you have not always had the best experiences collaborating.
no. All right, I know exactly what you're referring to. Yeah, and yeah, I thought about taking that video down. Because really it was just a test to see if I could record an Instagram reel and have it be engaging. I think it was pretty good. I thought it served its purpose, and I was like ready to take it down. I was like, what, let this serve as like a cautionary tale. Um, yeah, I found my through a Reddit post she had posted on Reddit. Um, I have also found a number of other, like the r/hyperpop. I'm in there all the time. Um, so I found this group of people on Reddit. And at first, they seemed all right. They started. They were going off the rails. I don't want to speak too poorly of them because I do understand that there is something serious going on. Um, but at the same time, that's not exactly my responsibility either. And when it gets to the point where me trying to create boundaries with a person is a problem, then that person is now a problem for me. Luckily, they did the honors of blocking me. More likely, so they don't get banned, but still.
Well, I'm glad that you have found, better collaboration since then.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the bar is in hell.
Well, I think this is a great transition to get into your new stuff. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. All right. So, um, I guess I'll lead off with this. Every time at least as yeoscore, recently I've been doing this stupid little trick where I will announce a song, and then about 2 to 3 weeks before the song is scheduled to release, I will, and it's not going to be very surprising for very long because I do it every time. Like you know it's coming now. I will do a surprise drop that will sit on YouTube and SoundCloud, and if it gets a good reception, and Bandcamp. If it gets a good reception, I will maybe bring it over to Spotify later. So I just did that. It's called Intentions. I really do think, excuse me, it's the best thing I've made. Genuinely, I have gone back and listened to it myself, and I never do that. I never ever take time to listen to my own music, and I've been going back to that one and having a lot of fun with it. Mixing a little bit of like Boots and Cats house and you know kind of Gexian hyper trap. Um, so that yeah, that's cool. But that's to lead into what is coming, and that's my song Word Wall with My Six Fab, who's an incredible artist out of Chicago. I believe I'm getting that right. Yeah, they're great. This is my second time working with them, and I have nothing but good things to say about her. Fantastic person. Again, another situation where I'd much rather make friends. So, we're not only talking about music. Um, it's cool to hear their perspective on the things around music as well. So, yeah, that's really cool. It's I made the beat after listening to a Baby song and kind of that UK garage style again. I really like it. I've tried my hand at it before and never really been super confident in it. This time I feel great about it. Um, and then another thing I like to do with the big releases is have either a prologue or an epilogue. So this time it's an epilogue and it's um, a little bit of ambient guitar with samples from the song um, strewn about. Um, it's a lot more processed than I've done in the past, which is kind of crazy because I kind of over process everything. That's kind of my thing. um, but yeah, I think it's a ton of fun. It's that's the only word I can really use to describe it. It's fun. It's fun to listen to. It gets me moving. I was dancing here while I was making the beat. It's yeah, I love it. I can't get enough of garage and drum and bass and all that.
Yeah. I have to say, I really loved the illusion of choice. That was such a vibe. What
Yeah.
was the like inspo behind that sound?
Um, in like the sixth draft of Wordwall, I added the main melody that the illusion of choice follows. It's very, very faint. I think if you're not wearing headphones, you might miss it. Right before Mai's verse, there's that bum, 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 and the like, it's way far back in the mix. So I figured, well, if I'm gonna do a prologue or an epilogue, I want to use that melody as the bass because it's kind of subdued in the main track. So I wanted to take that and make it kind of a big thing, and I think it sounds like it drones on, and I like that I added the kind of the clock ticking effect that runs throughout the entire song. But as all these elements start to build and the guitars start to layer on top of each other, you kind of lose the clock ticking in the mix. And you know, I'm the reason why I call it the illusion of choice is because you will lose the clock in the mix unless you are really, really paying attention. And you will lose if you're really paying attention to that, you will lose the guitar. You will lose something. Um, and I wanted it to be, you know, the main song is about wanting to. I have been with my girlfriend, goodness, 7 years now. Um,
Oh,
so I write a lot of these songs from a past me, from 17-year-old me, who is still nervous and wanting to get to know her. So that's the perspective I wrote that song from, and Mai did a great job piggybacking off of those feelings. And it's always silly, writing the text or the DM like explaining why I wrote the lyrics the way I did, but she did a great job. She told me that they believe it's their best verse, and I'd agree. I think it's fantastic. But all that said, yeah, this song is about kind of really childish feeling emotions of that really beginning, like almost honeymoon phase type of thing, kind of pre honeymoon phase. So I wanted the second one to be super grounded and almost gritty. It's still kind of nice sounding. It's pleasing to the ears, but it is something where it's like, yeah, if you listen to this casually, you will miss a detail. If you listen to this to um, hear a specific element that you heard maybe when the song started, and you're like, I'm gonna focus on that, or maybe you liked the chords once they started coming in, you want to focus on that. You liked the guitar once it started coming in, you'd want to focus on that. You liked hearing our voices echo back and forth in the stereoscape. Um, but you do not have that choice. You will lose something because you cannot multitask like that. And I love that idea, and I think it's a beautiful idea. And sometimes it's good to let go of that choice.
Yeah. What do you find yourself like picking up on the most when you listen to it?
I know exactly what. There's like a counter melody that's like ba da 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 da. I purposefully kind of flick the keys on the piano to create a little bit of like a twang effect. Um, and I'm a big fan. I textures. I love texture. Um, I have FNAF and Sonic, and I'm on the spectrum. I have FNAF and Sonic everywhere. Um, so textures, big thing for me, including like sonically. Um, so yeah, I love the little twang of kind of adjacent notes being flicked like that, and the little bit of dissonance it gives you, being the kind of weird vibrations from two frequencies that are really close to each other. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of the thing I tend to really hone in on when I'm listening to that, and I don't mind losing the rest of it to the muddy mess that is the mix. But yeah, that's kind of my favorite thing to think about. And then at the end, the last little guitar lick. I'm really happy with that one because I don't consider myself to be a great guitarist, but that one was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna re-listen to it when we get off because I want to see what I focus on now that I know the story. All right, what are you most proud of about this project or your work in general?
Hmm. All right. About this project, I'm most proud of um, collaborating with someone who I collaborated with before and making something completely different, like not even remotely similar to what we made last time. I think that's awesome, and I think that bodes well um, for someone who thrives on collaboration. I hate to be here alone. I have, even if we're not creating anything meaningful, I have friends come over and just record stuff every couple weeks. Um, so to be able to do that and feel like we've done something completely different um, makes me so proud of us, and I think that's really cool. That's really cool that we've been able to do that. I'm proud of finally getting a garage um, backing track that sounds pretty good. Finally making that work for myself. Um, and overall, I'm most proud of authenticity. I think I've been very authentic to myself and to how I want to sound and how I want to be perceived at least at a base level. Excuse me. Well, uh, I like to leave a little bit to interpretation, um, at least as far as the art goes. When it comes to me as a person, I'm a pretty open book. But as far as the art goes, I like to let people kind of take that how they would want to take it. Um, Everything has a meaning to me, but once it's out of my hands, it's no longer my responsibility, and it's no longer something that I can police. I can't decide how people will internalize what I've put out. Um, I think that's a good thing. And I think I've done a good job at giving people something to internalize, something to feel, making people feel something. I think that's something that I've been relatively successful in doing, and that makes me very, very happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me and like chatting and yapping.
Of course, I love to yap. That's what I do.
Where can the people find you, find your music, all that?
Um, Easiest place is gonna be Instagram.com/yeoscore at yeoscore. If you're on the apps, YouTube, yeoscore. Um, that's pretty much it. My website is yeoscore.online, and I'm also on Bandcamp.
Shout out Bandcamp.
Yes, big shout
Still
outs to
going
Bandcamp.
strong.
Oh, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said Bandcamp's still going strong.
I
We love
love it.
Bandcamp.
I love Bandcamp.
Any shout outs you want to make?
Wow, goodness gracious. Big responsibility. Big, 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 big shout out to My Six Fab. We love her. Soar, Melita have helped me a lot in the past couple of years trying to navigate this space. Um, Shout out to you. Shout out to BitchBopz. This is awesome. This is an awesome platform. I think you guys are doing good things. I think you guys are doing really good things, and suddenly it seems to be getting bigger and better. And I think that's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully one day we'll get big enough to where we can fly you here and perform. You
Hell
know,
yeah,
only a matter of time. We just spoke it into existence. So
there it is.
we'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Stream yeoscore. So good. And yeah, we're outie. Love you.